was here all along.
At this point, we only need like a 10-second countdown. Go. Okay.
Is this your first day, Dave?
No. Okay.
Yes, that's right. We are here again, fulfilling our 3.5-year mission here, guys, on Live Long a Podcast, talking about Star Trek DS9. We are all the way into season 2 here, guys. Episode 7, The Rules of Acquisition. This is also known as Deep Space Nine at 9.
Deep Space 9 time at 9, actually.
That's right. Well, I go just 9 at 9, but I beg to differ. Okay, so this episode, guys. What did you guys think about this episode? First impressions, I guess, is what I would ask for. I'm gonna start with above me here. Let me just introduce everybody first. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. We are here with my brother, the creator here of the Live Long a Podcast Kingdom. Dave Mader, he's above me in the command center, doing his thing. Say hello. Kevin Millard he doesn't have the lights on tonight, and he doesn't have the Enterprise in all its glory on tonight, but he still has his opinions, and he doesn't care what you think.
Light for opinions, he can come out with them.
That's right. That's right. And then we go, so that's Kevin Millard, and then we go over into Funko World. Jaemeel Robinson wearing the Captain Marvel shirt tonight. He has hot takes for days, and don't tell him to cool down because he won't. Jaemeel Robinson, how are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, he always has his Tums. Where's the drink? Where's the Go Fuel today? Or
no
whatever?
Go Fuel today. I'm drinking water. It's
just
the
water.
It's the 254th rule of acquisition.
Oh, I got the beer, so maybe I need some of those seeds that make me thirsty. So that would be brilliant. Oh, Strongbow apple cider. Okay, so let's get into this episode, guys. Dave, we'll start with you since I introduced you first. First impressions of this episode. What did you think? What stuck out to you? What did you like? What did you not like? What did you cry? Did you laugh? All the things.
Yeah, I'd say that this episode does stick out more to me, especially watching it tonight, trying to analyze it more. I don't think I've ever really studied this episode in the sort of scheme of the show as much as I did tonight. I've seen it before. It's not it was one of the more memorable episodes with the whole turnaround or the dual identity with Pell, but it's also, it sets up the Dominion arc. There's a lot of things going on here. I think this is the second appearance of Zach, right? And so it's kind of an interesting second appearance of Granted Zach, and we learn more about the Ferengi culture, Dax's rogue nature in this. So I think there's a lot to talk about, and a lot of good things. And I think that more of it played better on retrospect. And it's also kind of a tragedy with this love story with Pell and Quark, and how Quark is sort of this flawed character. They've established he can't get past Ferengi tradition right up until the end. Ashley's not here. I can talk about right up until the end. He's
it's kind of funny, like with Pell, where Dax is like, "Oh, you're in love with him," and blah 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 blah, and she kind of like susses it out in that conversation, and it's just kind of like, but like Quark never ever seems to be interested in like a sexual relationship or love or anything like that. Like, he doesn't seem to be the type. So like, Kevin, what did you think about that? Did you think it worked this episode?
I did. I think any episode that starts with Morn passed out on a bench is going to be a great episode.
Well, that's yes.
The great thing about that part was they tell him you can't sleep in the promenade, so he gets up and goes to Quark.
Because Odo tells him go home, and his home is Quark's.
Oh yeah, Odo is the worst.
I like this episode because I didn't like. It's better than the first Ferengi episode. I feel like they redeemed themselves with this episode. The first Ferengi episode kind of falls flat for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's striking. Actually, what's most striking in this episode to me is how much they changed Rom's character from the first two seasons to the last. watching both of those sort of simultaneously right now
Yes.
is a little jarring with with Rom.
And who Rom
Right.
is, later in the show.
Yeah, but they changed him for the better anyway, I think.
Right, because Kevin, Ashley's not with us tonight, but Kevin has been watching along the whole series with Ashley to get her caught up because she had not watched the whole thing. So he's kind of watched. He's a man of two times right now, Kevin Millard, when it comes to watching D9. But over to Jaemeel. What are your takes on this episode? Do you like the relationship, the romantic part? Do you like the rules of acquisition references? What sticks out for you?
So you can take many approaches with this episode. Like, I like first off looking at just Dax as a character. So one, awesome gambler. Two, you kind of get more sense of her tastes, right? And even Kira's like, your tastes are kind of extreme, and how could you like just deal with the Ferengi the way you do? And Dax is a romantic at heart, right? And she can look past a lot of the rough edges or rough lobes, right, to see like the actual heart of the Ferengi culture, right? Not just the individuals, but the culture itself. She enjoys the culture, and that's why she's able to kind of just intermingle so casually, right? She understands that their very overt misogyny and sexism is cultural, not the heart of the individual, right? She makes a stand, and she does call them out when they go past boundaries that she finds unacceptable. But she also loves the culture itself, the other parts of the culture that she's able to connect to. Secondly, I'm just gonna like take over this and just start talking. With Pell, I did like the fact that she noticed that Pell was in love with Quark, but did not know she was female, right? Which is something that people will quickly overlook. So one, Dax, way to go in terms of her radar, right? Because she totally sets that out. Although anyone watching the show can see that there is like a kind of not even if it wasn't like a romantic love, like some kind of like kindred spirit with Quark, right? That Pell was just compelled to just give and give to Quark. So before I continue rambling on for another hour, that's how I feel about the episode. To be continued.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I've got a lot of time to break it all down here on Live Long and Podcast, Deep Space 9 and 9. Here talking about Deep Space Nine Season 2, Episode 7. The rules of acquisition. You know what I feel like this episode represents to me is it's kind of like the episode that is the second part of the cast. Like the main part of the cast is kind of like, the Cisco and Kira and Bashir and like all the Starfleet people. But this is all like the other people to me, like in the show that kind of get to interact with like who aren't Starfleet, like all the Ferengi. Yeah, I know it's primarily figured, but we also get like Dax. We also get like people that kind of like come in and out of the Ferengi world that kind of represent like what the station is, especially later on. And I think this is kind of like the start of that. Like there's no Cisco command stuff going on pretty much at all in this episode. And I think that's kind of what made Deep Space Nine a little bit more unique. Dave, over to you. What is standing out for you with like this episode? Do you feel like it's like it's not like a Starfleet episode at all? It's about the Star Trek world, but it's not about Starfleet.
Yeah, it's about the Ferengi, and it's about growing them as a race, as each race in this series has a certain character or sort of traits associated with them, and the culture and a belief system, and how all these divergent viewpoints and ways of life can somehow coexist. And this is trying to explain that. And I think through Dax's lens is exactly what this is about, that they have flaws or things about their culture that humans and other species don't necessarily agree with. And the allegory, of course, is to cultures on our, within the human race on Earth today, and how, in cities and in North America, especially where so much immigration here, where you have all these crossing overs of cultures, how you have to learn to work within that. And Kira comes across really badly, considering the Bajoran people are a progressive race, but are they?
She does get her ass like pinched.
Yeah,
like three
she's
times
being
in this
harassed. You
episode.
can forgive her a little bit.
Okay, the pinch, but she
You
should not
say-
have let Zach get away with
Wait,
that.
hold on a second. How do you feel that the Bajoran race is very progressive? Like, they're not really progressive. Did we not just see the cultural war that just happened at the beginning of this season?
Well, Fennec Bareil.
One dude, one
One guy.
religious figure, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the
you
trend's
can
not
see
good.
they're
Or
very
what was
like.
his claim to fame? I don't grab ears anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think we should grab ears anymore. I think it's weird.
Right.
That's can I be Kai?
Kai Wynn wasn't voting Democrat.
I'm just saying that you're coming from a race, Bajorans, who were oppressed and now has a sense of freedom, but they're also searching for identity. So of course they're going to be grasping on with two hands very strongly to the old religious texts and the old culture. And so you can understand why what happened earlier in the season occurred. And also Kira is more progressive than the traditional Bajoran, but still she is not as experienced with different cultures and different societies as much as the individuals from Starfleet,
That makes sense.
or even Dax herself,
Right.
who's lived multiple lives in multiple places and cultures. So you can kind of understand why there can be Kira's trying to be open to Dax's lifestyle and point of view, and Dax is very accommodating to all the snide remarks that Kira makes throughout the entire series about her choices, right? But but you can see why. You can see why, and once we have that perspective, we can kind of accommodate, all right, their reaction, all right, and hope that they can meet us at the finish line. I think that's Dax's perspective.
Yeah, and the other, again, I agreed on all points there. And I think the other thing that stands out to me was, just Pell and Quark and this whole story. Pell is a character. It's the first female Ferengi, I think, in all of Star Trek, I believe. But I think she's only in this one episode, and we never see her again. And I think it's kind of unfortunate because I think Quark and her really worked really well together, but that's the tragic story, is that Quark can't accept it. You'd never be a Ferengi wife, and you would never adhere to our culture, and because Quark really believes in his culture, right? Even though Ferengis like Nog and his brother Rom, who's not progressive in this episode, will grow to become different people, and Quark won't. Quark will stay this person till the end. And this is, he's like, if there will be one place the Ferengi culture will reign, it will be here.
While still being true to his culture, she did break through to him though in this episode. I mean, it didn't help her, but
No.
you can see that he cared about her, regardless.
Yeah,
but he did
the heart part of him, but
Yeah,
But he didn't love her, right?
I think he may have.
he's getting
But
there.
to be fair, as much as we like this story, kind of love is kind of quick happening here, right?
Yeah.
Every I mean,
quick.
Dax almost married a guy that was not going to be back and stay on that planet, that was phasing in and out in a few.
Troy was going to marry some guy she met when she was a kid. Remember?
Yeah, love happens fast when you only got 45 minutes an episode.
I guess.
That's true.
I
They
guess.
gotta make that. They gotta make that happen.
If they stated that Pell has been working there for an extended period of time,
Right.
right? Yeah. And she's been watching from afar, and this is her opportunity to kindly get in good with Quark. I could buy it, but at the same time, in terms of spending time with Quark, not much time was spent. So
No,
I
seems
the
about a week.
expectation that you're gonna just start making out with him on the bed with one glass of wine. I don't think that was the best move.
No.
She
Yeah.
went for it. She got to give her credit. She went
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, that was a weird scene though. Like where Cork was denying it, and he was like, "What kiss? What do you mean?" And that never happened. And then he's just like thinking about the prophet, and I don't know. Like maybe he was just in denial, and that's how they were showing it, or something like that. He just didn't want to talk about it, or
Yeah, what
was
Quark
brushing-
is feeling at any given time in this episode is kind of up for debate. I think, I think
Yeah.
Armin Shimmerman plays it really well, very ambiguously. Like I think confused is often how he's playing it, and I think that's how we're supposed to interpret it because he doesn't, there wasn't like this is kind of a gay story, but it's not. But it's kind of thrown into an early version here of Star Trek, in the '90s when this wasn't big, right? And so this was, they were playing. I think this is Ira Stephen Bear's script, and I think that I think it's got a lot of interesting, thought-provoking ideas in terms of gender and in terms of identity and sexuality and how our main characters interact with that when you weren't allowed to talk about those things a lot or not directly.
But in a sense, isn't Pell the perfect Ferengi female for Quark? For someone who is so focused on profit and succeeding, she is there completely submissive to see him succeed. At no point was she trying to betray him, right? She went out of her way to defend him when everyone was like, why did you do this? Right? So in a sense, it is tragic, what you were mentioning before, that he lost out on possibly the only woman he could possibly trust completely and also be better because of her.
Right. Yeah. I think this was his shot. This was his shot at love. Like there will be Grilka will come along and he's carrying this torch for Dax, but it never really makes sense or works. They were never getting together, either version of Dax.
Not enough whiskers.
With Quark.
Not enough whiskers. That's right.
Yeah. Like it's Quark and this character, I think it's unfortunate we at least didn't get to revisit this character again. And her effect on Quark, because you think that Quark would have at least figured out, well, maybe I still think Ben should be running the business, but maybe there's a halfway where at least women can wear clothes. I don't know. Something.
Yeah, women wearing clothes was a big deal in this.
That's a huge deal for them. I don't even know how it works on Ferenginar. Can you just imagine like all these? Well, you wouldn't see them because all the women have to stay indoors too. So it's it's just.
Once again, we're putting our ideals towards their culture, and it's so jarring, and it makes no sense, and it's weird, and that's why it's so kind of repulsive and
Sure.
queer in that sense.
It's hard to imagine for me, or conceptualize. Like this works for them because whatever, but I don't quite. It's hard to follow, other than the Ferengi men just like it that way. And that's what it feels like, and that feels wrong. It feels like, one part of that, but that's also prime directive talk. And, hey, don't tell them, judge or interfere with their culture. Right?
Yes.
Don't get caught is what you mean.
That's a part of this episode, but I guess like a big part of it too is just like the Ferengi are this culture that basically is, sexist, misogynistic, like all these, terrible things. But at the same time, like Jaemeel kind of pointed to it earlier, that like it's the core of the person that matters, which is a big metaphor for like, you ever met like somebody that was like a Muslim or a Christian or had like certain hardcore views, and then you judge them just based off their views or their culture. Might not be telling you the whole story of like the core of the person, basically, right? Is that the kind of the point of the story with the Ferengi? Or at least what Dax's point of view. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's necessarily the core of the story with the Ferengi. I think it's acceptance. I think it's being able to accept things, and I think that there's a certain thing about influence, over time, people changing. obviously we see Rom changes.
Right.
As
We
Kevin
see
had
the
mentioned,
Nagus change.
the Nagus
Right.
changes,
Yeah.
right? Like all of Ferengi society by the end of the show changes, but not Quark.
Right.
Which is,
Not really.
once again, you're right as to it's weird that they never revisit this because, like, when the dust settles of this series and how Ferengi culture has changed, you kind of like Quark should have like a moment of like reflection and go, I've really missed something, way back when, and I wonder if there's still a chance. That would have been a nice kind of cliffhanger or see him kind of move to. I would have liked to see that.
Right.
Yeah, because they do revisit this subject matter quite a bit but only it's his mother, not Pell or him. It's his mother and the Nagus, and they could have brought Pell back, or at least said something about what had happened to Pell or whatever.
Justice for Pell, and justice for Tuvix.
Okay.
Pell and Tuvix ran away together.
Yeah.
I'm pissed at Pell for one reason.
Ooh,
Why are you pissed at Pell, Dave?
Well,
fire hot take.
What was accomplished? Well, maybe there was something accomplished, because what I alluded to. But what was accomplished by her coming in and ripping off the lobes into Zach and kind of, exposing Quark? Because Quark was going to make his fortune, right? Is that why this had to happen? So that Quark wouldn't make his millions and leave to the Gabron Quadrant or whatever was going to happen here. Because he was going to give the bar to Rom, right, to keep quiet about it. And so then in that like brief 5 minutes where Quark thinks he's going to get away with this, but then Pell comes in and rips him off. But they all have to keep silent about it. So really only two more people learn about it. Zach and his Mr. Hom guy or whatever. So was that...
I think what it is eventually the injustice gets so great that you just have to say fuck you. So that's the reason for that scene, is just to show her frustration with the entire situation,
right?
With the way things are.
Yeah, and it is. But it's only like, how has this not happened before? And it probably has on Ferenginar. We don't really know a lot about Ferenginar's history, do we? Like, do we know like?
No, we know that they bought warp drive from an alien species, but that's about it.
Love it.
Right. Love it. That's a great way to go. I mean, if you gotta acquire it somehow.
Why wait on the Federation? You're like, hey, there's another guy across the street who's gonna do it for me, and I only have to give up some resources for my planet. Bam, expansion.
Yeah, and I think the Ferengi are fun in like how their love of business and money and deals, and like there's a lot of fun to them that's like presented here, and that if they could just get past their misogyny, they would be a pretty fun race. It's kind of like, well, Dax already thinks they're pretty fun, but because she does look past that, even though it's I don't know, but we know by the end of the show that it's changing, that the Ferengi are at least a lot of them have changed it, and there's new reforms in place, and a lot of that's because of Zek and Quark's mother, and for whatever. But sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Don't worry, you'll get it. We believe in you.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that's why this show is fun and interesting and thought provoking. Is that we can have a lot of different discussion about just this 142-minute episode of things that made me think about not just then and now and in between.
What do we think of the Dosai?
The Dosai, yeah, we haven't even got it got to the surface yet of the Dosai. The Dosai seem to be like the Gamma Quadrant version of the Ferengi, except more violent.
And the females seem the aggressor, because in the first negotiation, the main negotiator was deferring to his compatriot who was of a female gender.
Yeah.
Right. So that was interesting, especially with Pell interacting back and forth with her. I thought that was interesting as well.
Right.
And the first clue.
Yeah, and that was like the on purpose thing to kind of be like she's gonna see that and go, well, why can't the Ferengi be like this? They're doing the same thing, the same jobs, and she has a point.
Oh, totally,
You can't-
totally. Like Pel's quite courageous, right? But I just think the way she goes about sort of trying to prove her point maybe isn't the most strategic. But I understand the frustration about it. But the Dosai, just about the Dosai. And I love the Dosai. I wish we had seen more Dosai because they're like professional wrestlers, like but they
Yeah.
love business
Yeah.
apparently.
I love their attitude. I'm not a big fan of the face paint, but I love the attitude.
Yeah, it's kind of
Ultimate
like
Warrior.
that. Yeah, they're like Demolition or something. They come in and they look at this very distinct look. They have a very Klingon-esque nature to them, but they love deals. Apparently, that's not honor and whatever. And
They like Black Friday.
yeah, I like that they party. They're all drinking the Tuliberry wine and whatever. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, they were interesting. Obviously, the Dominion thing. We get like this. Who's the Dominion and what's that? And
This is the first mention of the Dominion, is it
Yeah.
not? In the
Mention.
show?
Yep.
So I have a question. Do you
Mhm.
feel that this series and Star Trek in general cheaps out because they kind of make humanity as a finished product, and everyone else has problems? Klingons have problems. Vulcans have problems. Ferengis have problems. Bajorans have problems, right? But like humanity is like this smug race of oh well, we made it to the stars and we created the Federation, and we know better, or we're gonna talk down to Grand Nagus Zek in your space station, right? Like, who are you, bro? You're not even a captain. You're a commander, and you're talking like the leader of a race. Come on, show a little bit of you wouldn't talk to ambassador that way. How are you talking to Grand Nagus that way? That seemed really you let Major Kira talk to him like that, even though she's right. You wouldn't have.
He does say at one point, "Okay, you've made your point, Major," but he lets her go on for a while before saying
he does because he agrees with her. He's like, I don't like this Ferengi either. You tell him, Kira.
Yeah, like Cisco is.
Well, he hates the Ferengi. Yeah, up until Nog.
Yeah, he comes around, but yeah, like Cisco has his own biases, and it's interesting that I think that you have a point that all these species they have some kind of flaw, or they're not as noble as virtuous as humans because they haven't, they're not as well rounded in some way. They're like even Vulcans, like they're too logical and cold, and whatever, but then Klingons obviously too violent, Bajorans too religious, Cardassians too brutal, and maybe too political too.
Yeah,
never-ending sacrifice, and humans, I guess, smug, or like overly pleased with ourselves, I guess, is what the Federation humans. We're probably happy root beer people, whatever.
Root beer people.
And that actually, now that you mentioned that, it's even Quark says that in one episode later on. He's like, I tried to fight against it, but I just love these Federation people and their root beer and their
right.
I think it's when the Dominion are on the station.
Or they're about to come, like that they might lose the station, and that they will miss them if they have to go. And it's I think that that's maybe what our thing is, that we're kind of like in Demolition Man, where you have like all those happy people like Benjamin Bratt and those guys who are just so like, we just love things, and wherever she goes to Benjamin Bratt, Sandra Bullock, she says, "Don't you ever wish something would happen?" He's like, "Goodness, no. I find my job quite fulfilling." I think that's what that's us. We're just a little bit too pleased with ourselves, maybe.
I'm resisting the urge. I'm resisting the urge to start quoting Demolition Man. Okay, I am. I'm fighting it, Dave. I'm fighting it.
You have been issued
a citation.
Verbal citation number 32 for a violation of the verbal morality statute, I believe it was. Yes. So anyway, Jeff, where were we? Get us back on track.
Well, I just think, we've mostly talking about the episode. There is a whole thing in this episode here where they need either 10,000 or 100,000. What is it? Liters or gallons of the Tuliberry vats. That's vats.
1,000 vats of Tuliberry wine.
Tuliberry wine, and then they couldn't get it done through the Dosai, so they had to use a different Dosai person to go to the Dominion. And that's kind of like the first start of the Dominion kind of contacting the Alpha Quadrant, which is hilarious because, of course, it's a business deal.
We never meet the Karama, right? Ever in the show?
We do actually.
Do we?
Yeah,
They sound awful.
The Karama.
Yeah.
Actually, no. James Cromwell will go on to play one of them at some point. There's an episode where there's like a torpedo that's going to explode or something and kill Quark and this other guy. Do you remember this? On the Defiant, like they're stuck in this part of the ship after they're attacked by the Dominion, I believe, by the Jemadar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right? And yeah, so that guy's a Karama, and they're a member of the Dominion, but as we'll come to find out that they're not an important part of the Dominion, really. No. As much as some other members, maybe like the Vorta.
Right. But we also kind of get this whole thing here with Quark and the Nagus, that the Quark finally figures out that the Nagus kind of set him up here and made him go on his wild goose chase just so he could contact the Dominion. And then that's when Quark strikes the deal for percentage of the profits, right? For the Gamma Quadrant with the Nagus, which is a big deal. He's even willing to sell the bar to Rom, which is how long does this go on for in this show? How many times does he almost give the bar to not Rom?
A few, it's at least
so
10.
Close, so close.
So close. And Rom doesn't end up getting the bar. But,
he gets tired of waiting and he decides to have breakfast and be an engineer.
Right.
Human breakfast.
Yeah, and get a Bajoran wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's good with that. But Rob in this episode, he's pushing Quark quite a bit. And he's kind of, it's still very much season 1 Rom where he's like, my brother always insults me, and she's a female. We're gonna have to tell the Nagus if you won't, I will.
Brother. Yeah, he's always he's so sinister, and what he does to Pell and this whole, well, I guess it's in the Ferengi. Okay, let's talk about Odo. Can we just talk about Odo?
Yes,
and
let's
Odo comes along. He goes, I guess well, Quark left you here. When's he back? I don't know. He never tells me anything. And then he's like, well, what is he? I don't know how they get on it, but he's mad about Pell. And
what if someone took your brother away?
Someone took you away. He's like, well, if I did have a brother, I would never let anybody get away with it. And, and then he walks away. And I'm like, well, Odo, you just provoked him. All you have to do is follow Rom now to see him commit the crime. Is that entrapment? I don't know. But
yes, it's entrapment.
Yeah. So is that why he doesn't bust Rom for this? I don't know.
I would say
he doesn't bust Rom for it because he only stands beside people when they get shot. That's all he does on the station. He's a good investigator, not a good security officer.
Yeah.
He has no idea what Rom was going to do. He's just talking.
That's why Quark gets away with so much stuff.
Odo just came in there because he misses Quark.
Yeah. I gotta walk by here, and so
that's exactly right. And instead, he gets Rom, and he's like, "You're not even worth my match mentally." Like he's like, he doesn't like it. He's like, "Oh, I gotta deal with you now."
I guess today I'll think about if I did have a brother. Yeah, how I wouldn't let anybody take him away from me.
Even one as worthless as Quark.
Even as what is worthless as Quark. Yeah, that was the best. That was maybe my favorite line. Worthless as Quark. Not a great look for Odo in this episode for the limited amount he's in it.
Not really.
I think it's on brand. It's on brand.
I think he's just lamenting the fact that Quark's not there, and there's no that give and take isn't going on, and
you can't watch Quark. Yeah,
no, Quark's gone. He's on a mission. He's not with him on the mission, so God knows what Quark's up to. Huh. Okay,
I really want to know what it was like on that space station after things changed. So
I want to know how comfortable that bed was. That looked lumpy according to Pell, but was very comfortable according to Quark.
Yeah, I mean, more comfortable than that bench that Morn was on.
Look, it was only comfortable because of all the thoughts of profit dancing in Quark's head. That's
right.
Was anybody else like I sometimes I don't notice, but was anybody else surprised to see a bench on the promenade? I don't remember a bench in the middle of the promenade ever.
It makes sense why it would be there because like it's a good design idea for this. Like maybe Starfleet introduced it when they came here because they're like there's no place to sit down. We have old Bajoran grannies that are all over the place. Let them have places to sit, right? And
I just don't recall in any other episode there being benches.
There are benches in certain parts of the promenade, like around, I think, that area where Quark's entrance is. And some of them move, but it's like basically the promenade's a mall, and we have benches in the middle of malls. But it's not always there. I think that sometimes they take them out depending on what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
didn't matter. I didn't recall.
it's a good thing though that Rom turns out better than this, because I was mad at him about this episode. I was like, Rom, you suck. And then I come to like Rom later on, but
Well, yeah, Rom does suck at this point. He needs to suck so he can get better.
right, that's growth. That's an arc. He had an arc.
That's right. Okay, so can we break down Pell a little bit real quick here with like, do you think she's bold to kind of like I don't know, like take her ears off and show Quark who she is, and like she's just like kind of like, I don't know, she's got no fear,
I have a lot of feelings towards this. They're in the 24th century. She couldn't just surgically add ears to her lobes to make them bigger, right? It didn't need to be. It could be fake less, like kind of, but still, they could have just, waved, thing and just put it,
turn people into other species.
It's like, nope. I'm gonna use like 21st century kind of props, right? On my lobes. Like it just seems like a half measure, and like for someone so smart.
She left her spare set for Rom to find.
She goes to the doctor. The doctor's like, I'm sorry, we can't just add ears on. Now, if you started with a human face, we could do a whole thing. But
we could make you into a Ferengi male if you were a human, but sorry.
Adding on ears, like, come on. That's impossible.
No, that's a whole other bone structure going on there. Okay, so there's a whole moment there with Quark and Pell where, Pell asks, Quark to go to the Gamma Quadrant, and he says, "You never be happy being a Ferengi wife." And he says that like she's like, no one will care if I wear clothes in the Gamma Quadrant. And he says, "I'd care." So it's like Quark's kind of being a dick, right?
That's my point. Is that he's kind of it's not even that he has these views or whatever. It's more that he doesn't grow as a person. He can't get past himself, not just here, but like over and over again. His stubbornness is just an inherent counterpoint to his character, which he's Ferengi, but he's compassionate. He's tempered by he has a goodness to him, but he's also incredibly proud of who he is and who his culture is, and he doesn't want to give any of that up, and so he takes all the good with the bad no matter what when it comes to that stuff.
He's American,
kind of.
Okay,
not a bad analogy,
right?
Send a hate mail, folks. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I like the whole give and take that Quark ends up having at the end of the episode though here with Nagus, where he's like, are you going to say like a female negotiated on your behalf? And he's like, I didn't know she was a female. And it's like, well, then it's, then you're stupid or whatever. And they both use that same line on each other. It's, I see your point, is kind of how it ends. And, so it has to remain a little secret, which everything gets tied up in a nice little bow in this episode. It's
the best line in the whole episode. Shame on you.
Yeah. Shame on you. Can't wait till someone gets to play Zek. in a radio theater.
Can we get like message Gilbert Gottfried and see if he's free?
Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried as Zach. Yeah, there you go. Or Zach's cousin, Beck.
Why are you? Shame on you!
Shame on you. Yeah, it was. I liked Wallace Shawn always in this role, even though his freaking voice is like chalk on sand or like nails on chalkboard or whatever. Whatever.
Yeah,
no,
he's
whatever
tough.
band
He's
we don't
tough
do.
to listen.
But he's also incredibly just part of this whole troupe of Ferengis, and they bring it all together, sort of as an ensemble, in a lot of ways.
But
It's
Kevin,
true,
you're
right?
absolutely right in terms of this being a great, like a really good rehab of the Ferengi culture.
No show has this quite like none of the other Star Trek shows have what DS9 has in not just with the Ferengi, but with the Bajorans, for better or worse. We know a ton about
Right.
them,
Cardassians.
and the Cardassians, and I'd say more about humans and
It's more about the world than Starfleet.
Yes.
It's more
yeah.
Klingons. We also have Worf and all the Klingons.
We know that we know all the Klingon stuff. That's only and TNG had done a lot of Klingon expansion.
True.
But
it was more TNG, like Starfleet interacting with Klingons, not like individuals dealing with Klingon culture, right? It's Riker, the commander, trying to fit in with a Klingon ship with his Starfleet protocols and thought process. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to start playing jazz in the at the table, right? And see if we can make like a Klingon opera song with the jazz trombone. Like that wasn't a part of it. It wasn't Riker specifically. It was just Starfleet on a Klingon ship and vice versa.
Yeah, you're totally right. Like I'm. This is no secret. I'm a big fan of the world building in Star Trek, and just this like going to these places. Like, yeah, it's one thing to the final frontier and to seek out new life and new civilizations, but I don't want to necessarily just see that at once. Now that's a new place. That's part of the explored universe, and that's interesting. It's not old news or boring. Maybe some of it is, but like largely it's now part of the neighborhood, and I want it to be sort of expanded on. And I think that like the closest we got to it, was a little bit with Worf in TNG with the Klingons, and then I guess with like the Talaxians and Neelix in the first couple seasons of Voyager. Right up until that final Talaxian episode. No one likes that, but it's
How
it
do
was
you
more
bring
like
it up?
well, 7 of 9 with the Borg, though. We learned a lot more about the Borg through 7 of 9. And, that was not to say that Picard doesn't play a big role in that too.
But like, this is the best criticism against Picard as a series, because he's supposedly removed from Starfleet, but yet it's like Starfleet's handprint all over that entire series, and that type of ego and unwillingness to like really understand that you're not a part of Starfleet. You are just an individual in this big galaxy, and you're interacting with these people. Don't give me your Starfleet BS, right? And try shoving it down my throat and try to Starfleet morality, which we've already seen in that world as being corrupt as F, right? And you're telling me I'm doing stuff wrong, or my society is doing stuff wrong? How can you tell anything about the Vulcans and what Starfleet did, or right, or any of the androids and the stuff? You can't do anything. Like that type of just belief that they're morally superior, and Picard has that through the entire series, is totally messed up. It's totally
that's our fatal flaw. Humans is we just think we know better. That at least in the Star Trek universe, that's what
in the Star Trek universe, yes. At least in DS9, like I guess we get a good sense of where we are as individuals, because Cisco is flawed, right? And we learn he's flawed, right? And he understands he's flawed. Everyone on that show is flawed. Bashir, as we learn to learn, as perfect as he is flawed. Right? This is a series of flawed people. Whereas I loved TNG, and I love how kind of everyone works in harmony and everything like that. But like, this is one of the main reasons why I like DS9 more than TNG. TNG is a nice, warm glass of milk, right? That will
warm
put
glass
you
of
to
milk.
sleep. That will
Nutmeg
put
on
you to
top.
sleep. Whereas
Mm.
DS9 is that mysterious drink you have that you know you're gonna take a sip and it's like this is gonna be one hell of a night, right? It's the party drink. DS9 is the party drink because the characters are so interesting and how they interact and how they're flawed, and you want to see how things progress. You know everything's gonna wrap up at the end of like a TNG episode. It might be bittersweet, but it'll still be kind of sweet, you know?
Yeah.
You know Wesley's not going to be executed.
Yeah.
You were saying
But you hope he will.
Well, you were saying all that. I was thinking, you know what? Like TNG, that's like Coke. That's like Coca-Cola. It's so sugary, right? But then you got like DS9. That's like rum and Coke, right? Like it's like a little interesting. And then I don't know what Voyager is. I think it's like,
Peach schnapps.
is it like
Peach
Diet Coke without caffeine and maybe some kind of kombucha? I don't know, but it's something else. But yeah, I think that you're right, because TNG.
Is Enterprise is Discovery prune juice?
Maybe Discovery.
No way. Prune juice is a warrior's drink.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you need to be a warrior to get through Discovery. Enterprise might be like Old English. It's, you can drink it, but it's rough getting it down. Yeah.
And the end of the bottle is terrible.
Yeah,
It's very disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. It's very disappointing.
I'm kind of like, why do I love? I think DS9 is the best compromise in terms of tone, because I think that the original series, the Next Gen, if there's anything wrong with them, is that they're a little too perfect, idealistic. There's no problems. There's no tension really between the characters. Not really. And that most things get along. At TNG expanded on this more than original series did. But then I think the DS9, they were smart. They were like, okay, let's take this a little further. We'll still have this idealistic Federation, but we're on the new frontier where things aren't this simple, and those answers aren't exactly they don't make sense necessarily. So I think that in terms of how dark maybe like Discovery at times and Picard has been in certain places, trying to make it Game of Thrones, trying to make it more HBO and kind of R-rated, swearing, whatever else they want to throw into it. I feel like DS9 was like the perfect mix of all that, just for the time and place and what it was.
The simplest thing for you to look at is in TNG, would Nog and Rom be able to have an arc like they did in DS9? And the answer is no.
No way.
No.
But they could in like a show like Discovery, if they were on that show.
Would they?
Well, Jeff, what do you think? You think that now that like the Star Trek that we've watched, you haven't watched all of Discovery, but is Jeff frozen?
I think you said Discovery too many times.
There he is.
There you go. See, I had to say it to like unlock the.
Well, Kevin too. Kevin, you really saw all of Picard, right? And you saw that is sort of what the new people in head of Star Trek thought, that's what a new Star Trek, that was their vision of a new Star Trek. This serialized episode, like, each episode connects one big story.
Introduce characters I hate. That's what they did. I hated everything about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like, but isn't that more? Is that better? Is that better television? Is that more modern television? Is that what audience?
It's more modern. I don't know that it's better. I don't think it's better. I don't.
Because like there is maybe, even though DS9 is better than like TNG and Voyager in comparison to how like non-static it is, because that's what the other shows kind of, especially Voyager. Voyager is way too static through the 7 years to almost nauseating level, because the characters don't change or grow much. Chakotay season 1 is no different than Chakotay season 7. And so
he never even grows a goatee or a beard or nothing.
But like in the course of a season of Picard in the new modern Trek, they would grow, they would change Raffi, or at least get her on the way to changing, something like that. Even if you don't like Raffi and these characters, which I know you don't, it's I don't know.
But
Like,
they could change her, but I just they'd have to change almost everything about the show to make it better. I just don't. I don't know. I don't like what they're doing with it. It's gone too much the other direction. It's gone too far away from the perfect human Star Trek and gone fully the other direction.
Yeah.
In terms of serial television, I like the anime model. When an anime starts off, right, they're introducing the characters and they're doing the world building. So a lot of the first episodes are all single episodes where they introduce a specific concept and the show kind of wraps up in the 22 minutes that's involved. Once they lay the groundwork, then they can start bringing serial elements into it and tie up loose ends that were shown in earlier episodes and have it as expand upon it as a through line to the first season, the end of the first season. Like, that works. You build your foundation and then you grow off of it. Lower Decks even did a better job with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because the later episodes, which were stronger, were built off the work that was done in the earlier episodes,
Yes.
which weren't that strong. But you can get away with it because it's the early episodes. Picard was just grand opus, which we're supposed to care about people that we haven't met, and they don't really give us a reason to actually care about these people. Why am I supposed to care about Raffi? About what is eventually told in like episode 7, right? Like, what is my connection to her, right? Like, there's no connection to these people. Even Picard, if you're watching that series and you haven't watched Star Trek before, why do you care about him? There's no reason. There's no reason to.
Also, and if you were a fan before, why? I don't buy that he's going off on this mission with nobody that he was with before in the show. Like, why? This is like some big, huge thing he's going on, but he's not bringing anybody with him that was from the Enterprise. Like, he goes and
would Kirk do something like that? No, he would call upon his friends to help him.
Yeah, because he'd die without Spock.
he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
He literally does.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Yeah. Because on that last mission, even with Scotty and Chekhov.
So it just seems so like, even if it was like friggin' Nash, where the hell was Vash? Sorry, where was Vash?
Where was she? She was off of
Picard,
Q.
you mean?
Yeah, Picard. Like, if he's going on a rogue adventure, right? Why wouldn't he call like the schemy people that he knows? Call Vash.
I agree with you,
Yeah.
Jaemeel. There's way too many new characters in that show. They're building it off an old show. It's so stupid. Like, it's
Yeah. My question is basically what I'm trying to get at is, you talk about like shows like that, just you want things to be more of the peak television level, right? Like, ideally so. Like, you want things to, if possible, you want something to be like not Game of Thrones, not the way last season, but how great that show was, Sons of Anarchy, all these like epic TV shows. And do you think that Picard and Discovery, I think we're sort of the modern era, like at least trying to be those kinds of shows, like trying to be closer to what they think people want it to be.
right.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say quick that I think that those shows may try to do that in a box or like want to get Emmy awards, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't be thinking that way. Like, I don't, they should be thinking of like what would be.
We lost him.
I agree. What would be exactly? And that's my idea. Well, Jeff is
While we're waiting for him.
Good for sure.
Well, Jeff's buffering.
Wait, yeah, you lost me.
Yeah.
Bring it
What
back,
will
bring it
be is where we last left you. What will be?
Well, I don't remember what I said, but what does matter here is like I don't know, like those shows are trying too hard to be something that they're not. Be what you are, like be Star Trek. Make a show like.
Well, what I've learned now is that Star Trek can be anything, almost, right? Like Star Trek can be Lower Decks, Star Trek can be Deep Space Nine, Star Trek can be original series, the animated series, or the movies, or it can be the JJ verse, I guess, or it can be
Enterprise. No, it can't be. No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
preferably not Enterprise. Oh, there he goes.
But yes, I do understand that. Like, okay, people keep on saying Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a very specific example, an example that was based on a very dense book series. So like that first season is the book, basically. That first season is the book, and when I say it's the book, you can read the specific chapters that deal with the episode, and the inner monologue is what's being played out via acting. So they already have like the story laid out for them. Picard was supposed to be supposedly a single season epic, which wasn't really epic, which that depends way too much on having a prior knowledge of earlier series that were 30 years ago. Does not introduce its characters at all. It is a spin-off that is like 30 years too late, right? Literally, it's 30 years too late. It's like someone making, hey, and 30 years from now, they're going to make a Bill and Ted TV show for one season, and it's going to be about Bill and Ted's kids.
That will probably happen.
It'd be like, who are these people? Right? And they'll have like an obscure reference to Bill's father, the police chief, or not the police chief, the assistant that was right beside him in the movies. Do you remember that person? No, because it was just a person to the side that didn't really talk. But it's like expecting you to like, I remember the lore of this because, I kept up with Picard in the last 30 years, said like a huge worldwide fan base. Like Star Wars doesn't approach things like this, right? Why are they assuming that everyone's going to know like about this world?
Well, you think that each show needs to reintroduce people to Star Trek? Sort of?
Stanley was right in the sense that each comic book is someone's first comic book. Right? Well, this series is someone's first series about Star Trek. Is this a good first series for someone to watch Star Trek? Absolutely not. No, I mean Picard. I'm sorry.
But let's talk about Lower Decks in comparison, just while we're on the subject, because I think Lower Decks does quite a bit to try to explain to you, especially the different colored divisions. Like they go Command Division and Sciences Division and whatever. They go out of their way to explain that to you. But then it's just it's a series of reference jokes that you have to be a fan of the series to laugh at largely.
Sure.
Like
but that's not for a new viewer.
Yeah.
But isn't that's what we're saying, that it should be? Every show has to be an entry point into the series, right? So if you got to reset your mic, you're hollow.
I'm just saying that Picard as like an hour-long drama versus Lower Decks, which is supposed to be a comedy cartoon for fans, right? Light and whimsical, right? It's two different things. I'm talking about Picard in terms of DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, original series.
Live action's a different standard.
Okay. Yes.
I care more about the
shows that are canon.
Anybody on Picard.
It is canon.
The shows that are canon. It's right, Jaemeel. Lower Decks is not canon.
We already agreed it was canon.
Kevin, is Lower Decks canon?
I don't care.
It doesn't matter
at all.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
It doesn't matter. And we agreed if it doesn't matter.
I was just hoping to get a 3-1 vote, but
no, I'm always Ashley talks about canon all the time, and I'm just like, would you just shut up? I don't care.
Well, you know what? That's a good point. That's kind of how I feel about it too, especially with Lord Dex. It's
just
like
let like the people who care, just let us worry about it, and it is. So let's and moving on.
I will.
So I'll try to wrap up my last point of why I've been dragging Picard for the last 20-something minutes. Picard is supposed to be, or what they thought to be, was supposed to be the gateway from the old fans to the new fans and a new show, right? And because Discovery failed in terms of that regard. And it does a worse job than Discovery. Regardless of how people feel about Discovery, and at least you can watch it and it's like, okay, it's a starting point I can watch. I can hate the show, but it's still a starting point I could jump on. Picard is not that whatsoever. You would need to like go on Memory Alpha every episode to like, oh, they referenced that. Okay, right? There's no entry point in Picard at all.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out why they did what they did. And I'm trying to also say, like, just get back to D Space Nine, which is what we're here to talk about.
Sorry. D Space 9 and 9.
Always so off topic though. Like,
Yeah, we always go on tangents here. But okay, on D Space Nine, like, is DS9 dated? Right? Is DS9 feel like a 90s TV show, or does DS9 still work today?
I don't.
I still enjoy the episodes, and yeah, I feel like the show holds up.
Even when you get like, he's a Cardassian, like when you get those moments.
Sure.
Still, like, our society is so messed up that it's still timely. We could look at this and go, yeah, this is exactly what's happening right now, right? So
yeah, when I watched that episode with the Bell riots with Ashley, she was like, "Wow, they're like actual prophets. Like that shit's happening right now."
That's in 4 years from now. The Bell riots in DS9 are in 2024.
Yeah,
that's a big change.
And World War III's coming.
And if that didn't happen, we wouldn't have gotten into Star Trek world, I guess. So that's good.
So what we have to do is make sure in 4 years to go to San Francisco, and then we will run into Navy Brooks and an Alexander Siddig who have time traveled. They have arrived in San Francisco. We have to find them, and then we have to make sure that the Bell riots go off without a hitch.
Well, after they kill,
and then find a way to get back to the 24th century with them.
That's right.
Like,
and
what? We know what's happening with the Dominion War.
Yeah. We already know what's going on, and then we could just like go to the Hollow Suites with
put some whiskers on my face, and then meet up with Dax. Yo, baby, what's up?
Prevent Dax's death.
No, she got to die.
Well, yeah, that's true. You can't. You got to be like the Watcher, like Wesley. Like. You just know.
Where are we going? No, I'm just saying.
At least I'm talking about DS9. You guys went on a tangent.
Well, I'm trying to. Yeah,
sorry, I just dragged the Picard for 20 minutes. I like this episode.
Well,
I like the episode too.
I maybe I'm thinking ahead because all this talk of Discovery. By the way, on Thursday night, I will be covering the premiere of the 3rd season of Star Trek Discovery. I know you're all big fans out there who are listening, and you can check that out. I'm going to be doing that with Michael Chan. It looks like Adam Woodward. We have to confirm. So it's we're going to be covering that night while Jaemeel and Jeff do Big Brother that night. We have to debate.
Yeah, we got better things to do than watch Star Trek Discovery. We got to head over to Superman Bros podcast.
Sorry, I was going to buy season 2 so I can catch up.
You don't need to. I'm considering season 3 a fresh start. So let's just go for
Yeah, just skip season 2.
Skip season 2.
I'm a completionist.
All right, then watch it. Because I am as well, and I had to, and I did, but I'm not I will not revisit any of that anytime soon.
But a part of you is missing now. A part of your Star Trek heart has been ripped out by the show Star Trek.
I'm giving it another chance. I'm a sucker for Star Trek. So we're going to here we go, 3rd season. And if anybody can be enthusiastic and convince me that Discovery is worth watching, it's Michael Chan. So
yes.
It's going to be
yes.
It'll be good. He says he loves Discovery. So
him and Adam Woodward are both.
They love it. They love everything Star Trek. And so do I, but maybe not. I don't know. So it's you know,
You
some of it I
know,
like more than others.
it's really not the point, Dave, because we are here, Deep Space Nine at 9, talking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Rules of Acquisition, Season 2, Episode 7. Guys, we got to get back on track here and wrap up this episode and talk about everything that was going on with Quark. Do you like Quark at the end of this episode? Do you dislike Quark? Do you think he did the right thing, protecting her after the... you should be shame on you. Shame on you. Does Quark make things right?
As best he can.
For Quark, yes.
Yeah.
Or it works out for Quark. Other than he doesn't get the profit from the Gamma Quadrant, he gets his bar back, everything rests back up. Right?
Right. Is that like a karma? Is this story about karma?
I think so.
Or something, and whatever. I don't know. I think that I like Quark more after the episode, but I also not as much as they could have written it to be. They could have, made him more like noble and more of a hero, and they don't. So you have to sort of you have to swallow that, like for better or worse. It is what it is.
That's right. Okay, so we're getting over to the fun facts, guys.
Yes.
And we'll talk about some fun facts real quick. I only got a few. I just got
what I was looking for.
Okay, guys, so here we go. This is the first mention of the Dominion.
The good thing about watching all these episodes in order from the beginning is we know what the first everything is, unless we forget.
That is a high up. Okay, makeup designer Michael Westmore based the facial art of the Dosai on those of the tribes of Borneo and the South Seas. So there you go.
That's not super fun.
I love it.
It's just fun fact, Dave. It's not super fun fact.
Temper your expectations.
This episode marks the first time to see the game of Tongo being played.
Yeah, Tongo.
Tongo.
Actor Armin Shimmerman is extremely proud of the fact that the first Alpha Quadrant race to make contact with the Dominion are the Ferengi.
But are the Dosi really in the Dominion, or the Dosai, whatever their name is? They seem to be sort of
adjacent.
Adjacent, yeah. Or Dominion adjacent. Okay. References the rules of acquisition number 21, never place friendship above profit. Number 22, a wise man can hear profit in the wind. Number 33, it never hurts to suck up to the boss. Number 48, the bigger the smile, the sharper the knife. Number 59, free advice is seldom cheap. Number 62, the riskier the road, the greater the profit. And number 103, sleep can interfere with ... I'm guessing it was profit. This is the first appearance of a Ferengi female. The only other actual Ferengi female to which we are introduced is Quark's mother, Aishka, who appeared 5 times throughout the series. She was first portrayed by actress Andrea Martin in Star Trek DS9 Family Business, Cecilia Adams, who reprised the role in Star Trek DS9 Ferengi Love Songs, Star Trek DS9 The Magnificent Ferengi, Star Trek DS9 Profit and Lace, and finally, Star Trek The Dogs of War from Star Trek DS9. This is also a drag queen Ferengi in Profit and Lace. Sorry, there is one. This episode was originally to be titled Profit Margin. They changed it. The couple of Pac-Lads are seen in the background of some scenes on the promenade, including when Odo is talking to Rom in the bar.
We want all the ship pieces. So we have all the ship pieces. Or whatever.
Another Enterprise?
We want more Enterprises.
Yeah.
It was great. Just great.
R.I.P. Shax.
Lord Xmas.
The Karema are mentioned for the first time in this episode.
The Karama.
I like to go with Karema.
Pronunciations of some words, and it's Ishka, not Aishka.
I like to go with Ishka.
Jeez. Bro.
It's from the radio theater. He sometimes gets the radio theater pronunciations off.
So Karema. The Ferengi Rules of Acquisitions are a numbered series, 285 total in DS9 time, of aphorisms, guidelines, and principles that have provided the foundation of business philosophy in Ferengi culture, written by the first Grand Nagus Jint. So there you go.
First Nagus Jint.
This takes place in 2370. In Glatu, yeah, it's the 70s. In Glatu's costume and other items from this episode were sold in an online auction. So there you go.
Lower Decks is 10 years after this.
There is a hint at general acceptance of homosexuality in the 24th century when Pell confesses her love for Quark to Dax. Dax is perfectly at ease with it, even though she believes Pell to be a man. It is only later that she learns, to her astonishment, that Pell is a woman. It should be noted that Star Trek has been long accused of having cold feet regarding depicting openly gay characters, and the lead actors are often accused producer Rick Berman of deliberately squelching any such elements in the script. This has not stopped there from being a large number of subliminal clues like this one, which can be found across the franchise if one looks closely. Okay. And
All right, well, I noticed. I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Quark is much more comfortable with Pell being a man after she kisses him.
Yeah, that's way more acceptable. Way more acceptable for Pell to be gay than for Pell to be a woman
Yes.
and doing business. So, there you go. So maybe there's more gays among the Ferengi than we know.
Yes, we've only scratched the surface. Rom is searching in Pell's room to find something to use against him. He finds Pell's fake ears, which Pell uses to disguise the fact that Pell is a woman. In an earlier scene when Pell removes her ears, it is revealed that there are 2 pair in the box. Why? Unknown.
So Rom can find the other pair.
To have one that Rom can find.
Right. Okay, and that's it for Fun Facts with Jeff.
All right, well, let's get to the ratings then. I have to open the file first.
Ishka.
Open that file.
Ishka. No, Jeff thinks it's Ishka.
I think it's Aishka. Or Karema.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah, you do. I know you're looking at it, Jeff.
With a direction?
Is that Big Brother? Okay, hold on.
Sorry, I'm just distracting Dave while he's doing something.
What's happening? Okay.
Okay.
So Ashley is away working tonight, I presume?
Yeah.
Evan, do you want to give your vote first?
Sure. I'll give this an 8.
All right. Let's go to Jaemeel
Best
now.
score. Tied with your best score.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a 7.2.
All right, and to Jeff.
7.4.
We give it an 8.9.
8.9. Wow.
All right. Well, that gives it an average of 7.9 among the 4 of us. I do not have the IMDb score, but I will look that up quickly. And figure
It's I think it's 7.5, Dave.
Let's go with that. Let's say it's 7.5. So that's pretty good. So this this is above average. This was an above average episode for us because right now if you look at every episode we've rated so far, it's about a 6.3, and this was well above that. Much better than last week's episode where we were at a 4.8 from Laura, which we did not like that episode very much in comparison to some of these other season 2 episodes we have liked. So it's been kind of a mixed bag so far, but we know it's getting better. It's kind of know that we know where this is going. So, oh, no, not that button. There we go.
There you go.
Click the wrong button. It's chaos. Okay, so next week's episode is called Necessary Evil. And I do not remember much about this. An attempt on Quark's life reopens a 5-year-old murder investigation.
Oda decides to do some work.
It's an Odo episode.
Yeah, Oda's got something to do.
I don't really know this episode. Does anyone else remember this much or know much about it?
Nope.
Okay, well,
No,
hey, that's
No.
that doesn't. That's not a great sign. That just means it's not a notable episode.
This is the episode where they go back in time, and O's the.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, it can't be because in that episode, that's not till like Odo until Worf shows up, I think, or Eddington at least.
Well, they're showing it. I'm put it on, and it's Odo and Gul Dukat talking on. Odo's wearing his like civilian clothes.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's that same episode where they went back in time.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I
Seems
think it's.
I'll watch it. I'll comment about it.
We'll be watching that next week, and maybe who knows? Maybe it's the best episode of Deep Space Nine we've never heard of. So we're gonna be checking that out.
Probably not.
That's
It could stand out. Could be above average. Will or will it not be above average?
The fate is in our hands. It's how we choose to look at the episode. Right?
That's right.
Okay,
Will
so
we
looking
look
ahead,
favorably upon it?
looking ahead to this week here on Live Long and Podcast, that we're wrapping up our D Space 9 here for Tuesday. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, we are doing original series rewatching. Tomorrow we're doing I, Mud, which is the second appearance of Harry Mudd. We'll be covering that around, well, it sounds like we'll be on more like 7:15 tomorrow. I got to let everybody know because Dad's coming back from golf or something. So I'm like, when are you going to stop golfing so we can start our podcasts at a regular time? So that's coming up tomorrow. Also on Thursdays, as mentioned earlier, Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is starting. I am covering it. Kevin is yawning. And he's like, oh, goody. And also check it out this weekend as we will be on Saturday night. We will be doing Star Trek Radio Theater. And we are going to be having quite the episode of Star Trek Voyager called In the Flesh, which is going to star Mott, our friend Mott, Tom Mott Tyrell, as Captain Catherine Janeway.
Mott.
If anything, I am ready for that. I need to hear Mott's version of Janeway. And then, Kevin, you're going to be playing Boothby.
Yeah.
Groundskeeper Boothby. You got Michael Chan as Commander Valerie Archer. Ashley Millard as Commander Chakotay and narrating the episode. My wife Jane playing Tuvok and Tom Paris. Jeff's going to be playing 7 of 9 yet again. He's going to be reprising 7 of 9, as well as I think you have like one line as B'Elanna Torres, Jeff, but you have
Starflow. Oh, it's not. If it was earlier season, if it would be.
It might have to be the Macho Man. Oh yeah, I got those warp cores ready.
Warp cores ready.
Yeah. And everyone's gonna be like, who was that character? Oh, that was B'Elanna Torres. Oh, okay. And then we're gonna have Jessica Chan playing the Doctor, Harry Kim, and Neelix, and I'll be playing Admiral Bullock and Ensign Dave Gentry, a couple of 8472 imposters, not the real thing. So check that out Saturday night, and also our other channels, which include Super Mater Brothers podcasting, where we're doing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays as we finish up the Big Brother season. We've got 2 weeks left, so this week Jeff and Jaemeel are going to be covering. Tomorrow we'll all be here for the Veto episode tomorrow night. On Wednesday night, following that airing, and on Thursday, Jeff and Jaemeel will be covering over on Super Mater Brothers podcasting to cover that eviction episode where who knows who will go between these current nominees. And then the finale will be next week. So check all that out, as well as our other channel, Trivial Debates, where we do our monthly show where we argue about movies, sports, TV, and more. Check out all that's cross-referenced and in the descriptions and on our channels. So thanks, everybody. Jeff, take us away.
Okay, thanks for joining us for Deep Space 9 at 9. I don't include the time. But we thank you for all of us here at Live Long and Podcast for joining us. See you next Tuesday for Deep Space 9 at 9. And stay classy, Federation.
Yeah, so like